If you are new to gardening, then this is the video for you. We are breaking down a complete garden plan step by step to maximize your harvest, minimize your weeds, and make the most out of every size garden bed. Hi, I am Elena from West Coast Seeds, and we are currently in coastal BC in Zone 8B. One of the important things to consider with garden planning is that not only does a garden bed take up space, but it also takes up time. Well-seasoned gardeners and farmers will tell you that they are always thinking at least one season ahead. And every season of the year will bring you a different version of your garden. A good plan helps you make the most out of every season. So let's get right into it. So step one is to determine the crops that you want to grow. Don't get too bogged down on exact varieties right now, but think, do you want carrots and lettuce, or do you want onions and garlic, or do you want everything? Are you more flowers or herbs? Create a general idea of the general crops that you want. Pull out your seed catalog and flip through to see if there are any crops that you like. If you live with other people or you have some friends in your circle, it's a good idea to ask them what they might want to have at harvest. And don't limit yourself just to vegetables. I know in my circle we are a big fan of flowers, so I always like to grow cosmos and zinnias so that I have enough flowers to give away. So for this year in my garden, I'm going to continue with some of the crops that I know and love, but I also want to try out sprouting broccoli and adding a few more herbs to encourage more pollinators to visit my garden. Another airplane. So many airplanes. Oh my god. Now that you figured out what crops you want to like, we can move into step 2, which is picking out your varieties. Once you have a rough idea of which crops you'd like, go through your seed catalog again, and this time look at the exact varieties of the crops. So while you may want to grow onions, there are several different types and varieties of onions that you can add to your garden. Each one has different germination dates, maybe different taste, maybe they're different at harvest, and so it's worth looking through and seeing which ones catch your interest. Sir, I'm filming. Can you eat quietly? This is also a really cool way to find unique colors and tastes in vegetables. One of the things that I like to grow is lettuce, but I often find that I'm harvesting a whole head of lettuce. I use a few leaves for a meal and then I don't really know what to do with the rest of it. But there are certain varieties of lettuce that are bred and designed to stay small, so they're made for personal sizing. For example, the little gem stays small. We only get to be about 6 inches big. And because they're small, I'm able to plant more at one time. So instead of having one giant head of lettuce that I don't know what to do with, I could have like several smaller kinds of lettuce that I can use a few leaves off of and then give them to friends or save the harvest for later. When it comes to finding your exact variety, there's no right or wrong answer, and there are hundreds of varieties to pick from. West Coast Seeds catalog even includes little tips and tricks on how to grow each of these crops, and even some insights into why certain varieties are named or called that way. Like, did you know that yes, everyone knows that there's a usual carrot shape, but there are actually different types of carrot shapes, and the variety that you buy will drastically change how your carrot looks at harvest. So take your time, flip through your catalogs, find the varieties you like, and consider roughly how long it takes them to reach maturity, as well as their taste and any pest resistance or unique qualities that you might be interested in. Okay, so we have the crops and the exact varieties that we want to grow. Now we can move on to the step 3, which is the first draft of plotting out your garden. Planning out your garden is not just for massive gardeners or people with large plots or acres of land. If you have a long list of crops that you want to grow but a limited space, proper planning can help you ensure a bigger harvest. There are several ways to plot out your garden, from usual pen and paper, graph paper, there's even programs. However, I like to use square foot gardening. I find that it's an easy tool that works really well, especially for my home garden beds. At this stage, you're going to be considering the spacing of each crop. So again, West Coast Seeds does include the general spacing that each crop needs. If I'm growing, let's say, a small version of lettuce, I know that I could put more in one area versus if I had one big lettuce, I need more space. Or if you're growing something like a summer squash or a fall squash, we know that those take up a lot of space. They're big vining plants, and so you want to consider roughly how much space each plant needs. An important thing to note here is that it's okay to overcrowd your garden. This prevents weed growth and sometimes can give you a little bit more harvest than usual, but if you are really wanting to maximize bigger harvests and like the actual size of your produce, be sure to consider exactly how much space each crop will need to grow to reach that proper size. Another thing to include in this step is where the sun will roughly be, as well as how much sunlight requirements each plant has. Some crops like tomatoes and peppers are big time heat loving plants, so they need to be front and center, getting the most sunlight that they can, whereas other crops like kale and broccoli are not so heat loving and they can handle a little bit of the cooler shade during the day. You also want to consider common pests. So I know that slugs are a big problem in my yard, so when I'm roughly planning where everything's going, I'm considering where I'm planting trap crops to try and prevent the slugs from entering further into my beds. This step is meant to be done with some precision, but don't go crazy. We're going to worry about companion planting and successional planting in the next step. Alright, we are moving into step 4. Now that we have a general idea of where everything's going to go and how much space everything's going to take, it's time to go through your plan again to slightly alter or minorly tweak where everything's going to go to maximize your harvest. Looking at my rough draft and the list of crops that I want to have, I might consider if there are any companion plantings I could take advantage of, or if I've accidentally put two things that don't like each other next to each other. A great example of this is strawberries and tomatoes. Last year, I planted strawberries and I had a wonderful strawberry harvest well into the summer. And about half of the summer, I planted some pretty big tomato seedlings and I noticed that my strawberries stopped producing. And that's because tomatoes and strawberries are both heavy feeders, but tomatoes will always win the competition. So unfortunately, all the tomatoes took all the nutrients out of my garden bed and stopped my strawberry harvest. So it's important to quickly look through your garden and everything you have plotted out just to make sure that you're avoiding any little mistakes like that. West Coast Seeds has a companion planting guide that lays out most of the crops and will tell you what goes good with what. So when you're in your garden planning and you're looking through everything that you have, be sure to quickly reference it with our companion planting guide so that you can see, oh, I have chamomile, which I know will plant well with my garlic, so that everything can work together and maximize the benefits. So moving into step 5, we have our crops, we have the exact varieties, we have the first draft of our garden plan, we have the second draft of our garden plan, and now we're going to consider succession planting. Some crops will continue to produce all season, like strawberries, zucchini, or tomatoes. They'll continue to give you fruit to pick all season long. You'll be able to come back to them multiple times in a season to get another handful or another basketful worth of fruit. But some crops, once it's harvested, the harvest is over. For example, a carrot. Once you pull a carrot out of the ground, there's no more carrots coming. Succession planting means that you start a new batch of seeds every couple of weeks to continue this harvest. This creates a successional harvest. Crops like spinach and arugula are really good for succession planting because if you wait too long, they are susceptible to bolting, where the plant gets too mature and it bolts and sends out a big shoot of flowers ready to produce into seed, and this makes the leaves really bitter and kind of ruins your harvest. Looking at my lettuce, I know that I should have an area ready for a succession plant. This is pretty easy done in the square foot gardening method. Looking at my little square foot here, I would know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spots for a lettuce to grow. So I don't eat a ton of lettuce, so what I would do is I would have every 3 or 4 weeks, I would have another lettuce ready to go. So in plot 1, I put my first lettuce down. 2 weeks later, I start another lettuce seed, and then that will go to plot 2, and so on and so forth for 3 and 4. So it just creates this succession, this cycle of lettuce that I could continue to harvest all throughout the season. So now you have your garden plan. You have a rough draft planned out of everything that you're gonna grow, where it's gonna go, who it's companion planting with, any trap crops, any succession plantings, and you're ready to get your seeds in the ground. We are now officially moving into step 6, which is one of the last steps in garden planning out your seed starting. I like to use a spreadsheet when I'm planning my seed starting, but you can just use a pen and paper or whatever you'd like. I have got my list of crops that I want to grow, and now it's time to figure out when to start every seed. Every packet of seeds that you buy from West Coast Seeds does include a time on the back of roughly when you should start your seeds according to your zone. Here in coastal BC, our last frost date is end of March or early April, depending on how mild the winter has been. And one of the crops that I want to grow this year, again, is cosmos. So I would look at the back of my cosmos packet and it says to take roughly 4 to 6 weeks to start my seedlings. A very, very important thing when it comes to starting your seeds that many gardeners fall victim to every year is to start your seeds too early. This does not give you an extra head start on your seeds. If your seed packet says to wait at least 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date, wait 4 to 6 weeks. Do not start planting those crops way too early because basically your seeds will sprout and they'll start growing, but they won't be ready to go outside because there's still a danger of frost. So if you put them outside, they'll die, but if you leave them inside, they'll get root bound and they'll die. So don't waste your seeds by starting them too early. Listen to the information on the packets. I'm pretty thorough in my seed starting lists. I like to stay organized. So I'll organize all of my crops according to when to start them, and then I'll put them into my calendar. So when that week arrives or when that day arrives, I'll pick a time within those weekends and I'll take some time and I'll start all my seeds. I have seen like seedling starting parties. Those look like lots of fun. You can get all your friends over and you can pick a day where most of your crops are getting started and start them all together, grab some slow starting mix, your seeds and some pots, and you just go to town. The main thing here is to really work with nature instead of against nature. An important thing to consider when starting seeds is that they do need heat, light, and moisture in order to germinate and sprout. This often comes in the form of a grow light, a heating mat, and some good sterile soil starting mix, and some good sterile seed starting mix. That is a tongue twister. You can find all these supplies at your local garden center, especially as we get closer to the seed starting days. The last and most important, The last step in planting your garden is to prepare your soil. The exact time on when to start amending and prepping your soil will again depend on your growing zone and where you are, but generally speaking, once the soil becomes workable and a little bit warmer, I can start crushing my cover crops, adding in compost, putting in some minerals in the soil, and whatever else may need to be done to really waken the soil. Hi, baby. No, he's eating my grass. Healthy garden soil is not something that you're gonna get in one season. It is an ongoing process, but it's arguably one of the most critical steps because in order to get healthy crops, there needs to be healthy soil. They need to pull the nutrients up from the ground. And if there's no nutrients in the ground, you're gonna get weak, sad vegetables. The goal here is a rich, dark, healthy soil in a good texture and filled with microbial life. During this time, you could also send your soil in for testing at an independent lab. They can be a bit pricey, but the information gained from these tests are always worth it. And we have reached the end of garden planning step by step. Garden planning shouldn't happen all in one day. It's something that you can take time over the course of the winter to plan and dream and get inspired and excited for. Even if your seeds come in one big box, each seed has its own timing that it needs to be started. Planting your seeds before it says to does not make spring come faster. Be patient and coordinated with your seed planting and garden planning, and enjoy it. We hope you found this video helpful as we step-by-step break down how to plant a garden. If you have other friends in your circle that are interested or curious about gardening, feel free to send this video to them. If you have any questions that we did not answer about planning and starting a garden, feel free to leave them in the description below and we'll try our best to answer all of them. We'll see you in the next one.